Mario Kart is one of the most plagiarized games ever made. Several competitors were adopting its methods and led to a series of kart races that all derive from Mario Kart in all its core elements and took from its gameplay. Some were better than others and tried to tweak the recipe, but the one that really wanted to stand out as something else was South Park Rally. Its core gameplay and direction was a fresh take on the repetitive genre mixed with the edgy comedy of early South Park. It's time we spoke about one of the most hated and lowest rated Mario Kart rip-offs, but is secretly a hidden gem within Kart Racers that had potential to stand out as something different. I want to get this started by saying this game released on the Sega Dreamcast, PS1, Nintendo 64, and a PC port. It is expectedly janky and difficult to control, which can be disheartening to play. Most of the hate comes from the game's difficulty due to controls, but I think it deserves credit where credit's due, so we're moving past the blocky janky controls for this video. Made in January 2000, at a time where South Park video game was daunting to many, South Park was rapidly gaining popularity due to its offensive and out-the-box natures, and soon followed some video game tie-ins. Its first game was a first-person shooter that was received poorly, and soon a Mario Party rip-off in Chef's Love Shack, another horribly received game. Hearing another South Park game is coming, expectations were low for the new South Park Kart Racer and was preemptively judged negatively. And honestly, it never really publicly shined. Sure, at the time there was better kart racers that would have been first or even third pick between your friends, but that doesn't mean South Park Rally is a bad game, right? South Park is known to some as a fart joke show, and the series creators tend to make fun of the public reception regarding the show, in the show, and they still do this to this day.
What matters, and the reason I brought you in here, is that you understand affirmative consent. There is a romantic relationship here. You have to make sure your partner is comfortable with any sexual exploration. Now in a gay relationship it gets a little trickier, but you still have to follow some guidelines, alright?
But I'm not gay.
I don't care about that, bro!
Different ports of the game feature different graphics that do have some striking differences, catered to the platform's limitations. But they all did feature some great music that can be heard immediately from the opening theme and the first level's theme. South Park Rally is filled with wacky references from the early seasons of the show, and fans can appreciate the cameos and be reminded of the funny moments. For newcomers, it acts as a great introduction to the vast jokes and references the South Park show has made, and is still enjoyable without the prior knowledge of the series. Quite a few of these references come in the form of items within the game. However, it takes a different twist to what other kart racers did at the time. In South Park Rally, each time you see a row of item boxes, each colour box holds a different pool of items. It creates a larger sense of depth and differs it from the typical trend within the genre. Here's a rundown of every item in the game. In the yellow item boxes, we have Mr. Mackey's balloon head gadget, which fires a psychedelic peace sign at the player. If it hits, the player's head expands and they float up above the earth. You can leave traps in the form of barf. It creates a puddle of fun as you watch your opponents slow down to a crawl as they attempt to drive through your splat of sticky goo. On top of sticky goo, there's Mr. Hanky the Christmas poo. Mr. Hanky will protect you from danger, whether from bad action items or items fired at you. He will take the hit. The final yellow box item is Kitty. Unleash a whirlwind of destruction that is Kitty. When you fire Kitty at your fellow racers, Kitty will home in and blow them out of the way. Next up are the purple box items. We start with the anal probe that comes out of the driver's ass and fires a tracking laser that makes your opponent sing. Explosive diarrhea has the smallest range of all the mines in the game, but has the most punch. And finally, weight gain 4000 drastically increases your mass, allowing you to ram through your opponents with immunity. The red item boxes have hitting rats that make the road extremely slippery with a wet sloppy trail of blood. Terran's Turbo is a boost that fires immediately on pickup, and if your opponents are starting to look like they could use a pick-me-up, then let them suck on some chocolate salty balls while you whiz to victory. And this final lovely pickup will win your opponents a date with Frida the hooker, whether they want it or not. Unfortunately for them, she'll leave them with a fond remembrance of their time together with herpes. Just like in life, herpes is with you to the end, and multiple trips with Frida will open multiple red dots. Green item boxes are not so vulgar. Cheesy poofs are a bouncing, scattering set of projectiles that explode into a cloud of cheese dust when they strike. The Mexican staring frog is a mine that, when deployed, turns all in its vicinity to stone. Player momentum is locked and they lose control. A fill-up fart is a controlled gas-powered turbo to give you an extra boost, which is a manual one in contrast to the Terran's turbo. And underwear gnomes march out, track their target, and collect pick-up and action items from opposing players, then disappear like magic. And finally, the blue item boxes consist of water balloons, which is a mortar-style projectile that strikes your opponents with a big splash. Holding down the fire button makes a more powerful shot. The decoy cow is a fake cow that when dropped looks like all the other cows. If a racer bumps into the decoy cow, it will rupture and send the car flying. Caffeine automatically zooms your car to blazing speeds in a double cappuccino blitz. And last but not least, Sparky the dog will chase the nearest car, grab on and stop the car cold with some animal passion. There are also some rarer assorted items that can appear in any box at any time, one being Spooky Vision, which brings up a vision of a scary Saddam Hussein that will block your view and prevent you from seeing the road. But the rarest and most powerful of all the pickups in the game is Pink Eye. It turns around all opposing players and reverses their steering, and makes their eyes pink and puffy and reduces their action time. Try your best to give your opponents Pink Eye. This game changes up the palette that Kart Racers followed because of its South Park humour, but more interestingly, its particular choice in levels and cementing the story themed on holidays across an entire year in a rally championship. You can compete against your fellow South Park natives in a host of holiday races. Once you complete a race in championship, it's unlocked and can be saved for use in arcade races. You start your championship with 5 credits that act similarly to an arcade machine with tokens. Each time you fail to beat a race, you lose a token. Lose all 5 and you must start the championship again. Every map on championship mode holds a continuous coin hidden somewhere. If you're close to losing your tokens and think you're about to lose, stop trying to win and find the coin to reset your lives and do better next time. The first championship race type is the closest to the traditional racing mode found within the genre. The usual complete checkpoints in numerical order and be the first to cross the finish line. However, the traditional order these appear on the track may vary, and you'll find yourself backtracking to pass the checkpoints as fast as possible. The challenge here is that the checkpoints are not in a linear fashion like other kart races. You and your opponents have got to traverse downtown South Park, taking different routes to the end. It gets a little trickier and different with each level, as in level 2, 12 days later, Rally Days 2 begins, where each player must locate a trophy and run through checkpoints keeping hold of the trophy. The player to cross the finish line whilst holding the trophy wins. You're never too far behind in this mode, as the player holding the trophy must be the one who follows the checkpoints, meaning every player has complete freedom to travel anywhere on the map to cut off and steal the trophy using items and traps. It's a constant chase to the trophy, a newer type of race which can be daunting at first, but still presents a new take on the kart racing template. In level 3 we changed location to the farm and crossed a new year to January 23rd for the Cow Days race. The mayor reveals we all have mad cow disease and there is only one antidote. All players must race towards the antidote and hold it for a total of 2 minutes whilst evading other opponents who are also after the antidote. If you fail, you die. A pattern I enjoy here is how the second level is a tweaked version of the first, and the third level is a tweaked version of the second. In the first, it's a checkpoint race. In the second, we follow checkpoints but whilst holding a trophy while players hunt you. Now, in the third, all opponents are hunting the player with the antidote. But the change is that there is no checkpoints or any direction other than to escape all players. It's a welcome pattern in video games when each levels are advanced versions of the previous. Such as in level 4, it continues the trend of fighting your opponents, only this time with special items. It's Valentine's Day in South Park and Big Gay Owl is celebrating in his house. Big Gay Owl's house is a huge mansion with a lot of tricky to navigate areas, but inside are special items as Cupid's bow and arrow. The player holding this item has to hit all other players with Cupid's arrow before they get hit. Using regular items on the player shooting will make them drop Cupid's bow. The challenge is to pick it up first and succeed in hitting all other players quicker than the rest. It's a complete battle similarly to the previous. Mission 5 is Spring Cleaning, and is another checkpoint race where you must be holding one of 3 underpants and pass the checkpoint without losing it. Complete 3 laps to win. The structure of this map is interesting, as you race in the sewers of South Park holding Eric Cartman's underwear, donated by his mom, in order to wash, drain, rinse and spin to clean his underwear. The sewers have a simple map layout, easy to understand but just tricky enough you can escape your opponents. Education in South Park is far below the national literacy level, and to tackle this issue, March 23rd is Read a Book Day. This also gives a pardon to South Park's chicken lover. The chicken lover is driving a bus and in charge of making sure everyone gets a book, but the chickens aren't safe with the chicken lover around, so each player must safely escort up to 4 chickens at a time to the local police station, and the first player to deliver 10 chickens is the winner. This is the largest map so far along the outskirts of South Park and gives you an objective which you must race to complete it first. Along the roads will be the chicken lover in his book bus and can act as a nuisance to your driving. Each player is focused on their own goals instead of fighting each other, which is a nice change of pace this far into the game. It's Easter time in South Park, where the next event of Rally Days tournament continues with an Easter egg hunt across the wider outskirts of South Park. The Easter eggs were donated by Dr. Mephisto. The rules are simple: collect any 20 eggs before the other players to win. The challenge here comes from the deadly mutant bunnies who laid the eggs, as they have broken free and are now on the hunt for their young. The first player to find 20 eggs wins. It continues the nice change of pace as now the player is focused on collecting eggs as fast as possible, almost completely ignoring all other players. May 18th is the grand opening ceremony of Big Gay Al's Big Gay Pink Lemonade stand held at Big Gay Al's house. Each player acts as a waiter and will be given 4 glasses of lemonade to deliver. When a customer wants lemonade, all players race to the table and the first to arrive successfully serves the lemonade. The first player to serve 4 glasses will be the winner. For the 3rd straight year on South Park's Memorial Day weekend, aliens have invaded, which has ruined the town's picnics and barbecues. Mephisto has created a laser we can defend ourselves with from the alien visitors. Each player must find the gun and finish all 4 checkpoints with it. The first player to do this wins the race and saves humanity. I like how this mission is similar to Rally Days 2, where you must acquire the trophy. However, here it is slightly tweaked, where instead of escorting the trophy to the end only, you must manually go through each checkpoint with the item in hand. It expands on another familiar game mode. This race is held across a hellscape South Park with red skies and destruction everywhere, making it feel more intense and tied to the story. The next one is a little bit more chill. To celebrate Independence Day in South Park, a traditional race shall be held across the mountainside of the town. Complete checkpoints in a certain order to win. It's a simple mission. We started the game with this, but this time, it's held in a larger location. Everyone knows that Halloween is about getting as much candy as you can, so the winner of this race is whoever can collect the most candy by the end of the night. Candy is scattered across the mountainside, and you can hold up to 4 pieces of candy at a time. Deliver this to the drop-off station and go back to find more. Collect more than the other players to win. Another objective-based level, rather than a battle or a general race. It keeps the game fresh and keeps the player on their toes ready for the next challenge. It's Christmas time and a very large present is somewhere in South Park. You must find the present and deliver it over 4 checkpoints to win. However, repeating the concept from mission 2, the winner is the player who delivers it to checkpoint 4, meaning checkpoint 1, 2 and 3 is not the primary focus. It's New Year's Eve and we all know what that means. Satan is coming to claim the key to the city, and the key must be kept away from him until midnight. The player has to find and hold the key for a total of 2 minutes and is claimed the winner. Repeating the concepts from mission 3, this acts as the final level, and Satan being the final boss, although you don't actually see or fight him. It's funny they choose arguably the most difficult mission for the last, and would be infuriating to lose the championship because of it. But in a way, it does serve as a climactic end to this unusual game, which actually pays homage to the South Park bigger, longer and uncut movie, whereas amongst the destruction from Satan, a Canadian fighter plane is crashed into the volcano. South Park Rally's Championship mode acts as a story of South Park taking players through waves of maps and objectives that feel fitting to the town, almost as if you're playing through one special episode of Season 3. To really appreciate the game and its references, you do need to have some understanding of the series, and loses a lot of its appeal without it. Without it, it can be appreciated as a kart racer who focused on structure and originality in its levels and items rather than just another kart racer. I do think the game's best elements are within the game's comedy, references and world building. There are 2 other game modes available. After completing missions in Championship mode, you are able to freely select the completed missions in an arcade race and practice across the level. The other mode is a multiplayer ass battle, where each player has 4 asses and must attack the other player. Being hit loses an ass, and losing all 4 asses loses the game. It's basically Mario Kart battle mode, but instead of balloons, it's asses. To further deepen the game's solidarity with the show, many characters from the show are unlockable, and some in an unconventional manner, like losing a race without touching the antidotes. Some of these characters include Bebe, Big Gay Al, Damien, Def, Cartman as a Cop, Mr. Garrison, Marvin Marsh, Jesus, Mr. Mackey, Starvin Marvin, Mephisto, Ned, Pip, Satan, Shelly Marsh, Tweak, Ike, Terrence and Phillip, Alien Visitors, and a few more that wasn't featured in the Nintendo 64 version, such as Scuzzlebutt, Sheila, Cartman's mom, Football Kenny, Hip Hop Cartman, Raggedy Andy Stan, Vampire Kyle, and Chef, many of those which are taken from certain iconic episodes. Different ports of the game did feature some different content. For example, the Sega Dreamcast version featured a carnival mission, and a multiplayer stadium that was excluded in the PS1 version, as well as all those characters taken from the N64 port. But finally, the biggest, most important change of all was featured in only the PC port of the game. A dildo. The game had several cut content. There was supposed to be a map within South Park Elementary, a football themed mission, more pickups, a speedometer, Stuart McCormick appearing along the roads, with Ike Broflovski before he was changed to a playable character, and other cut playable characters like Mrs. Crabtree, Chicken Lover, Akklaim, and Fat Abbott. The game was not well received by critics and fans, scoring low ratings and poor reviews. I think the game has a lot of credible feats, although it does get cut short pretty quickly by its difficult controls, unconventional mission structures, and graphics that can be misleading at times. At release, major critics gave the game an average of 40% across all versions, with some mixed reviews, some calling it a middle-of-the-road kart racing game, and others praising it for South Park fans. The most shocking detail for the game's release is how it sold over 1 million copies on the Nintendo 64 alone, despite far better Kart Racers competing on the N64. And finally, another review that stands out: a superficially fun-looking game with fun-killing gameplay. These reviews are understandable, as the game does include a variety of pros and cons. In my opinion, the pros being the direction style and commitment to change the genre in several ways. It's filled with hilarious references, the missions being cemented into a story tied with interesting memorable locations, a wide cast of characters, items, and locations, mission placement ever expanding on itself, and its mechanics growing. A lot of the pros do depend on prior familiarity and love for the show, but the cons do weigh it down with poor controls, unclear graphics in most ports, difficult AI, a steep learning curve for how unconventional the game is, limited lives in Championship mode, and cut content across different ports. I don't believe the game deserves the hate it did. South Park games have since redeemed its public reputation with the Stick of Truth and Fractured But Whole, but I personally think this is a game to try out and could be fun with a group of friends who love South Park. It had a lot of potential, but didn't quite live up to the competitors at the time. Nevertheless, it still remains a shining kart racer that could have been something amazing if its core gameplay features were just up to standard.